He asked if I liked the lake house, but I'd never even seen it. How do you thank someone for a gift they never gave you? In the next few minutes, you'll find out what was buried beneath the silence. I gave up my house, my name, my place at the table. And then one question changed everything. This is my story, and it's not what you think. Thank you for being here. Have you ever felt like the world moved on without you? Like you gave everything and then slowly disappeared? Leave a comment below, even just one word. Where are you watching from, or what time is it right now? And if quiet, powerful stories speak to you, don't forget to subscribe for more. It was right after the cranberry sauce hit the table. His wife had just set it down, smiling that tense, social smile she always wore when I was around. When my son asked, "So, Mom, how do you like the lake house?" The room didn't freeze. That only happens in movies. In real life, the room just kept humming. Dishes clinked. Someone chuckled. The football game murmured from the living room, and I blinked. I was standing by the window, folding the napkins into little fans, the way his grandmother used to. My hands kept moving. I didn't look up. "Lake house?" I asked, as softly as I could. There was a beat. He didn't catch the shift in my voice. Maybe he did and ignored it. "Yeah," he said with that same tone he uses when he's explaining tech to me. "The one we closed on last month. I thought I told you?" I folded the last napkin. It came out crooked. He didn't tell me. Not even a whisper. I'd visited them a dozen times this year. I'd brought casseroles and birthday cards and watched their kids while they went on date nights. But apparently, somewhere in between those errands and favors, they bought a lake house. And I was the last to know. "Oh," I said. "No, I don't think you mentioned it." "Really?" His brows drew in. "Huh, I thought I had." His wife didn't look at me. She was busy lighting candles. 3 wicks, soy, expensive. The table looked beautiful. Instagram perfect. That was when I realized something colder than the lake they now apparently owned. I wasn't supposed to know. Not really. Not yet. Maybe not ever. "Anyway," he went on, brushing past it like it was nothing, "it's up by Lake Arrowhead. Gorgeous in the fall. We're hoping to get the family up there next summer." The family. I suppose that technically still includes me, though lately it feels more like I'm an honorary guest who overstayed her welcome. I sat down slowly. My chair gave a soft creak, the only sound that acknowledged me in the whole damn room. My grandson asked for juice. My daughter-in-law corrected his grammar, and I looked at my plate. Everything smelled amazing. Rosemary, sage, butter, warmth. But my appetite had curled in on itself, quiet and sharp. I took a sip of water. It was cold, crisp, served in a plastic cup. Everyone else had glass. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe I was tired. Or maybe... And this thought landed hard, right beneath my ribs. Maybe they had already moved on without me. All those years of doing, fixing, helping, saving. All those holidays I held together like duct tape on a sinking boat. And now, here I was, smiling at the mention of a house I would never see, wiping my fingers on a paper napkin, telling myself, don't make a scene, don't be dramatic, don't make it about you, because that's what mothers do, right? We shrink, we swallow, we keep folding napkins, even when the table's not ours anymore. I've never been great with small talk, but that evening, I became invisible in a room full of people who used to need me. The conversation at the table moved like a river I couldn't step into. Stocks, the school fundraiser, some Netflix series with a name I forgot as soon as I heard it. They all laughed at something I didn't catch. I smiled anyway. That's what you do when you're background. I stirred my potatoes with my fork, not eating, just making them look busy. No one noticed. Across from me, my daughter-in-law passed a bowl of roasted carrots to her sister. They had matching earrings, little gold hoops. I remember when hoops like that meant something wild and dangerous. Now they just meant Target, or maybe Nordstrom on sale. I reached for the gravy. My hand bumped a wine glass. Not mine, of course. Mine was plastic. Everyone else had stemmed glass. Thick, real, heavy. It wasn't deliberate. Probably just what was left when the table was set. But it was enough to make something inside me tug a little. Not quite anger. Not yet. Just the quiet question. When did I stop being considered? My son looked good. His shirt was tucked, his hair trimmed. He had his father's shoulders, broader now than I remember. And the way he sat, easy, sure, like someone who knew he belonged. I used to watch him sleep as a boy, always sideways, one hand under his cheek. He had nightmares when he was 6. I'd sit by his bed for hours until his breath slowed. Now he asked if I liked a house he never told me existed, like it was a footnote in a newsletter. His kids were arguing over pie. The oldest had her phone under the table. I saw the blue light on her face. No one told her to put it away. Once, I would have said something. Now, I didn't want to interrupt the air. The cranberry sauce shimmered. The candles flickered. And I was the only one not in the picture. They were so happy, so polished. And I felt like a dusty photograph in a new frame. The noise blurred. Words bled together. And I stared at the window. My reflection looked back. Faint, pale, smudged into the glass. I didn't recognize her at first. The woman in the window looked like she'd been waiting a long time for someone to notice she was still there. It started with a bite of pie. Pecan. Too sweet. The crust soggy. But it wasn't the taste that got me. It was the cinnamon. Just a hint. He hated cinnamon as a boy. I remember it so clearly I almost said it aloud. You used to spit that out when you were 6. But I didn't, because he wasn't 6 anymore, and I wasn't the person he brought pie to share with. Instead, I nodded. "It's good," I said. He smiled, distracted, turned to his wife, said something about the oven temperature next time, and just like that, the room folded away from me, and I was back there, in the duplex on Marigold Street with the drafty windows and the broken heater, before success, before the lake house, before I handed him my future so he could build his. It was 2008. Recession. My retirement fund had already bled out, but he'd had an idea, a tech thing. I didn't understand half of it, but his eyes lit up when he talked about it. "I just need seed money, Mom," he'd said. 50,000 would get us going. I swear I'll make it work." I laughed. "I don't have 50 cents, baby." But I did have something. My house. The one I'd paid off in 29 years, one envelope at a time. It wasn't much. Just 2 bedrooms, creaky floors, and a kitchen that smelled like garlic and childhood. I took out a reverse mortgage, signed papers I didn't fully understand, and gave him the check. He cried. Hugged me so tight I thought he'd crack my ribs. "Mom," he whispered, "I won't forget this. I swear." And maybe he didn't forget. Maybe he just filed it away, with the rest of the sacrifices labeled "what moms do." Back at the table, someone asked for coffee. I stood to help before realizing I wasn't the hostess here. I sat back down. My daughter-in-law disappeared into the kitchen. Her sister followed. I could hear them laugh over the whir of the Keurig. That kitchen used to be my battlefield, my kingdom, my proof I mattered. Now I was a guest, a pleasant obligation, a seat filler. And yet, I didn't feel angry. Not quite. Just cold, deep under the skin, like something was melting and not in a good way. That night, in their guest room, I lay on top of the covers. Not ready to sleep. Not yet. I scrolled through old photos on my phone, found one of me and him on moving day. Cardboard boxes, dust in the air, both of us grinning. I looked younger, hopeful, like someone who believed promises. I stared at the screen until it dimmed. Then I whispered into the dark, "You did forget, baby. You just don't know you did." The next morning, the house was quiet. You'd think a house full of children would wake with chaos. Cartoons blaring, footsteps on the stairs, cereal bowls clinking. But here, It was silent. Silence that felt curated. I padded downstairs in my socks, careful not to make noise. I still do that, even when there's no one to wake. Old habits. My son was in the kitchen, stirring oat milk into coffee. He turned when he heard me and smiled. "Morning," he said, as if the night before hadn't happened. I stood in the doorway, folded my arms, then unfolded them. "Morning," I replied, my voice even. He handed me a mug. It was white, smooth, expensive feeling, not mine. Nothing here was mine. "I was thinking," I said, wrapping both hands around the mug like a shield, "about the lake house." "Oh." He looked down, added a splash more milk to his cup. "Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't mention it. It's been hectic." "Hectic," I echoed. "Right." I didn't say it like a question. I didn't need to. He shifted. "It's not like that, Mom." "Like what?" He opened the fridge. Too quickly. The door thudded. "Like we were trying to hide it from you." "Weren't you?" He pulled out almond butter. Didn't answer right away. Then carefully, "Look, it's just, there's a lot going on. Jess's parents helped with the down payment. It's more for the kids. Like a retreat, you know?" I did not know, but I nodded anyway. He spread the almond butter on a slice of seeded toast. Slowly, like he was operating machinery. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake him by the shoulders and say, "I gave you my house. I gave you everything. Why is there no room left for me?" But I didn't. Instead, I said, "You used to tell me everything." His jaw clenched. A second. A breath. Then he softened, like a man who'd just opened a very old wound he thought had healed. "I still do," he said. That was the lie. He meant it, or wanted to. But that version of us, the mother he confided in, the boy who told me about scraped knees and secret crushes, that version had packed its bags and left a long time ago, and no one told me. We stood in the kitchen, 2 feet apart, worlds away. "Are you okay?" he asked. It wasn't a real question. It was the kind you ask to wrap up a conversation, the kind that begs for a quick, "I'm fine," so you can move on. "I'm tired," I said. "Okay," he replied, already turning back to his toast. "Maybe get some rest before we head out." Head out? Right. Today they were driving to Jess's parents' place, an hour away. Just the 4 of them. I'd be staying here, watching the house, watching the silence. He didn't ask if I wanted to come, and I didn't offer. That afternoon, when the door closed behind them, I sat in their living room. Sunlight slanting through the windows, toys still scattered on the rug, and felt smaller than I had in years, not because they left, but because I stayed. The phone rang at 2:14 p.m. I saw the name light up on the screen. Ben. My thumb hovered over the green icon. Reflex. 30 years of reflex. Pick up. Be there. Say hello like nothing ever hurts. But I didn't move. Not for 5 seconds. Not for 10. I just watched it ring. From the couch, I could see their family photo on the mantel. All smiles. Matching flannel. Even the dog looked proud. I wasn't in the picture. I didn't remember being asked. The phone stopped ringing. A moment later, a ping. Voicemail. I didn't listen to it. I put the phone face down. There's something strange that happens when you say nothing. The world doesn't end. No alarms go off. No one bursts in to scold you for not being kind, not being understanding. The silence holds, and in it something fragile and fierce wakes up. I walked to the guest bathroom. The mirror above the sink caught me mid-step. I looked tired, not just in the eyes, in the mouth, the shoulders, the way I stood, like a building leaning just enough to worry the neighbors. I turned on the faucet, let the water run cold, splashed my face, dabbed it dry with a towel embroidered with little blue anchors. Jess is decorating. I used to pick towels for absorbency. Now it's about the aesthetic, the theme. Everything in this house has a theme, except me. Back in the living room, I curled under a beige throw blanket. They'd be gone for hours. No one to perform for, no one to serve. For the first time in what felt like years, I opened a book for myself. Not a magazine, not a cookbook, not a picture album, a novel, fiction, someone else's world. I didn't get far. My eyes kept going back to the phone, but I didn't touch it. I let it sit there, like a dog that used to come when called. Let it wonder, just this once, why I didn't come running. Later, the sun dipped behind the trees, casting long, golden bars across the carpet. I made myself a cup of tea, chose the good mug, not the one they left for me, the chipped holiday one with snowmen, but the nice ceramic one Jess usually keeps on the top shelf. I reached for it on purpose, not as revenge, just as a reminder. I'm still here. I still get to want things. The phone buzzed again. A text. Ben. Everything okay? Didn't hear back. I stared at the message. Type nothing. Let the silence answer for me. I didn't mean to look it up. It wasn't some dramatic decision. It was just a quiet hour, a sleeping house, and a question that wouldn't go away. What does it look like? Not, do I belong there? Not even, why didn't they tell me? Just, what does it look like? I opened my laptop. The keys felt stiff, like the machine knew this wasn't its business. I typed, Lake Arrowhead Real Estate. The listings loaded. Blue lake, pine trees, little boats frozen in time. And then I saw it. I knew it was theirs. A modern craftsman. Gray stone, wide deck, clean lines, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, lake view, price, $1.4 million. There was a swing on the porch, a wooden one with blue cushions, the kind I used to want but never bought. Too impractical, I'd said years ago. I clicked the photos. Open kitchen, subway tile backsplash, wide farmhouse sink, sunlight poured in from skylights. There was a breakfast nook with a built-in bench, something I'd once sketched in a notebook during a lonely winter, long ago. How strange, I thought, seeing parts of my dream built by someone else's hands. Then I noticed the dates. Closed, October 3rd. It had been 7 weeks, 7 family dinners, 3 weekends of pumpkin patches, Halloween parties, Sunday barbecues, all of them, without a word. The home inspection PDF was still attached. I opened it. I don't know why. The inspector had made notes about water pressure, roofing, energy efficiency. There was a line near the end. All signs of recent updates, professionally remodeled. Owner appears meticulous. I laughed. Out loud. Once. Sharp. Meticulous. Of course she was. I leaned back, stared at the screen. My reflection hovered there, faint and flickering. I had given up my house so he could start a company, lived in an apartment with paper-thin walls and a broken thermostat for 6 years. And now here I was seeing his new house, his second house, through a browser window, like a fan watching from the bleachers. I closed the laptop, walked to the kitchen, made toast, buttered it all the way to the edges. I never used to do that. I always left space. This time, I didn't. I carried it to the table and sat in silence. Not the sad kind, not the punishing kind, just silence. Wide and full, like the lake I had never seen. It was supposed to be simple. Just groceries, eggs, half and half, maybe some cinnamon rolls for the kids. I pulled into the parking lot of the local market, one of those upscale ones with curated produce and lemon-scented carts, and grabbed a basket. I still liked the feel of shopping. It gave me a rhythm, a list, something to check off. Oat milk, check. Baby carrots, check. Vanilla extract, overpriced, but fine. I stood in line behind a woman with a toddler. The child pointed at the gum rack. The mother ignored him, scrolling her phone. The baby whined. The mother sighed. I wanted to say something kind. Instead, I stood there and watched. When it was my turn, I smiled, made small talk with the cashier, a young girl, pierced nose, bright eyes. Her name tag said, Maya. We laughed about something. I don't remember what. It felt good. I tapped my card. The machine beeped. Declined. I blinked. I tried again. Declined. Maya smiled gentle, too used to this moment. Want to try again? I pulled out my phone, opened the banking app, account frozen. My stomach flipped, not in fear, in confusion. I stepped aside, opened the notification tab. Your account has been temporarily locked due to suspicious activity. But there was no suspicious activity, just a withdrawal last week, a small one, a gift from my grandson, a coat. Then I saw it, a line of fine print. Account access restricted due to ownership transfer. Please contact the primary account holder. Primary, holder, Ben. The world didn't spin. It just stopped, gently, like a pause between chords. I put the oat milk back, the carrots, the cinnamon rolls. Maya said, "It happens," with a kind smile that almost broke me. I sat in my car for 20 minutes before starting the engine, not crying, not screaming, just sitting, as if stillness could answer something. When I got back to the house, it was empty again. I sat at the kitchen counter, turned my phone over, back and forth, called the bank. The man on the line sounded sorry, polite. Looks like the joint account was shifted to an individual holder last month. Authorization was reassigned. I wasn't told, I said. He paused. It happens when co-signers update their structure. Their structure. Such a clean word for a quiet theft. I hung up, walked to the window, looked out at the street. Sunset was coming, gold and blue on the pavement. A couple walked by with a dog in a sweater. I thought, this must be what it feels like to become optional. But I wasn't broken. I was angry. Not loud anger. Cold anger. Precise. Focused. The kind that doesn't shout. The kind that waits. I didn't want to go back to the store, but I needed milk. And I needed, I don't know, a human face. A small gesture. Something uncurated. This time, I went to the local corner market. Old fridge doors, scuffed tiles, no music playing. The kind of place that smells faintly of lemons and dust. The kind of place I used to love before everything got so polished. I picked up a half-gallon of milk, some instant coffee, and a single cinnamon bun from the little case near the register. There was no line, just me and her. She was probably around 60, hair pulled back, plain sweater, strong hands. Her name tag said Carla. She didn't ask if I wanted a bag. She didn't offer a rewards card. She just looked at me, really looked. "Rough day?" she asked. Not pitying, not invasive, just human. I opened my mouth to lie, then I stopped. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Yeah, a little." She nodded, started ringing up my things. "Kids?" I hesitated. "One," I said. "Grown. Good job. Good house. Good. Everything." She smirked. "Let me guess. You used to be everything, and now you're not sure you're even something?" I laughed. Short. Honest. She didn't laugh back. She just held my gaze. "Happens more than you think," she said. There was silence then. Not awkward, but warm, like a blanket thrown over something cold. She handed me the bag. "Here," she added, slipping in a second cinnamon bun, "on the house. For women like us." I blinked. It hit me harder than I expected. "Thank you," I whispered. She shrugged. "Just a bun. But yeah, you're welcome." I ate that cinnamon bun in my car, slowly. Not because it was gourmet. It wasn't. The icing was too sweet, the bread a little dry. But it was mine. A gift. Freely given. No strings. No roles. No expectations. Back at the house, I didn't go to the guest room. I sat at the kitchen table and opened a blank notebook from my bag, one I'd been meaning to use for months. I wrote across the top of the page, "What I still am." And I began, line by line, slow, careful handwriting, hands a little shaky, but not weak. It was in a book. a gardening manual of all things, perennials for shade, tucked between pages about hostas and bleeding hearts. I hadn't opened it in years. I don't even remember packing it when I moved out of my house. The real one. The one with the porch swing and the chipped blue shutters. The letter was folded twice. No envelope. Yellowed slightly at the corners. I didn't recognize the handwriting at first. It looked careful. Determined. Like someone trying very hard to believe what she was saying. Then I saw the date in the corner. June 14th, 2009. That summer. The one after I signed the house over. The one where I moved into the one-bedroom rental with the rusted sink and paper-thin walls. The one where I started to forget how to laugh when no one was around. I unfolded it slowly. It wasn't long, just a few lines. But it hit me harder than anything Ben or Jess had ever said. Dear me, I know you feel invisible right now, like you gave away all your edges just to keep someone else from falling apart. But you are still here. You still matter. You are not past tense. One day, this ache will become a kind of light. I don't know how, but it will. Until then, keep the door open, even if it's just a crack. Love me. I read it once, then again, and again. Each time it cut a little deeper, not with pain, but with recognition, like watching an old home movie of someone you used to be, waving at you from across the years. I don't remember writing it, but I remember feeling it. I'd sat on the floor that day, eating cereal from the box, thinking I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. I wanted to scream, to run, to beg someone. Anyone had to tell me I hadn't disappeared. And so, I wrote to myself, not to fix anything, just to be heard. And now, 15 years later, I finally listened. I didn't cry. That surprised me. Instead, I held the letter in both hands, like it was fragile and holy. Then I folded it back along the old creases and placed it on my nightstand. Not hidden, not buried in a book. Visible. Waiting. That night, I slept without checking my phone. No news alerts, no texts, no waiting for anyone to say anything. And when I woke the next morning, I said it out loud. I am not past tense. I didn't tell anyone I was going. No dramatic speech. No, I deserve this monologue. I just typed the address into my phone, the one from the property listing, and started the car. The road curved through the hills like it had somewhere better to be. Pines lined the highway. Crisp air spilled through the vents. I rolled the window down just a crack. The wind smelled like wet leaves and wood smoke. It felt like driving into a memory I didn't own. The GPS said 2 hours, 17 minutes. I stopped once for gas. Bought a coffee I didn't finish. Sat for a minute too long in the driver's seat before pulling back onto the road. Half of me wanted to turn around. The other half had waited too long. I knew I'd found it the second I saw the mailbox. Gray, sleek, custom-made. The kind you buy when you don't expect bills. Only postcards. The driveway was gravel. Perfectly even. And at the end of it, framed by trees, glowing in soft afternoon light, was the house. Their house. My house. The house my silence helped build. It was beautiful. Of course it was. Modern siding. A tall front door. Windows that caught the sun just so. It looked like something from a magazine. The kind with headings like, Elegance Meets Escape. I didn't go inside. Didn't knock. Didn't even walk all the way up to the porch. I just stood by the edge of the property, hands in my pockets, heart oddly calm. There was a canoe tied near the dock, a pair of Adirondack chairs facing the water, a hammock between two pines. I imagined the children here, laughing. Jess with her glass of wine, Ben in a hoodie grilling something expensive. None of it was mine, but I knew the foundation. I knew what was given to make space for this, and that knowing was enough. I took a few steps closer to the lake. The air shifted, cooler, damper. Leaves drifted across the water. The surface caught the sky like glass. I sat on a fallen log near the bank, listened to the birds, the faint lapping of water, and for the first time in a long time, I felt Okay. Not good, not healed, but clear. This was the place built without me, but I had survived its absence. I had survived far worse. I didn't stay long, didn't linger. Just watched the water. Breathed and whispered, now I've seen it. Not for him, not for them. For me. I was halfway back to the car when I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. A white SUV pulled into the drive, newer than I remembered, spotless. Jess stepped out. She didn't see me at first. She was carrying a paper bag, fumbling with her keys, then her eyes lifted. We both froze. She blinked once, tilted her head slightly like maybe she'd misrecognized me. Then, oh, hi. Just that. Not surprised, not cold, not warm either. Hi, I said. We stood like that for a moment. Two women who knew too much and had never really spoken. She shifted the bag to her other arm. Were you looking for Ben? I shook my head. No, just passing through. Passing through. It sounded like a lie. Maybe it was. She nodded. Didn't press. She glanced back at the house, then at me. Did he ever tell you we bought it? I didn't answer. Her expression faltered, just a flicker. He was going to. I told him to, but he said it might be complicated. I raised my eyebrows. Complicated? You know how he gets, she said, as if that explained everything. Maybe it did. Silence. She sighed, the kind that lets out more than air. It's not personal, she added. This place, it's just a place. We wanted something for the kids. Somewhere quiet. It is quiet, I said. My voice wasn't bitter, just factual. She glanced toward the water. They love it here. They call it the magic house. I think it's because of the swing. I didn't respond. I wasn't here for her nostalgia. She turned back to me. I hope you're not upset. I almost laughed, but I didn't. Instead, I said gently, clearly, I was never in your way. I just forgot how to exist without being useful. Her face changed. Not softened but cracked, just a little. Enough to see past the polish. I didn't mean to take anything, she said. You didn't, I replied. It was given. Another pause. Then, and maybe that was the problem. She didn't argue. She didn't apologize either, and I didn't need her to. We weren't enemies, just women caught in a system that never warned us what happens when mothers stop being needed. She looked down at the bag in her hands, then back at me. Would you like to come in? No, I said gently. I've already seen what I needed. We stood there a second longer, then I turned, walked back to the car, didn't rush, didn't look back. And as I drove away, I thought, maybe she isn't cruel. Maybe I just became invisible in plain sight. And now I was learning how to reappear. It started with a cappuccino. I stopped at a little cafe on the drive back, one of those restored train depots turned rustic espresso bars, iron chairs, mason jar lights. Too much charm for one room. I ordered a cappuccino, sat near the window, and stared out at the street, trying not to think, trying not to feel. And then I heard them. Two men, mid-40s, polished shoes, laptops open, legal pads between them, the kind of quiet, sharp talk that makes your ears prick even when you're not trying to eavesdrop. Her name's not on the title, one said, flipping through papers, but the funds came directly from her account. That's a problem. Not if it was a gift, the other replied. Pause. Sip of coffee. She never signed a release. Then she has a claim. I froze, not visibly, not theatrically, just inside. I looked down at my cup. Let the words play over again like a bad radio loop. Funds, not on title, no release. She has a claim. When they got up to leave, I turned. Excuse me, I said before I could stop myself. They both glanced over. I didn't mean to interrupt, I said quickly. I overheard something. The older one gave a polite smile. Sure. Everything okay? I nodded, then shook my head, then nodded again. I'm sorry, I said. Just, what happens if someone contributes financially to a property, but their name isn't on it and they were never told? They exchanged a look. The younger one shrugged. Depends. Was it documented? No, I said. But the money came directly from their assets. A large amount. Life-changing, actually. Another pause. If there's proof the money wasn't a gift, the older one said carefully, they could pursue a constructive trust, especially if the funds were the reason the purchase was even possible. And if the person who received the money never disclosed what they did with it, that could work in your favor. My hands were still around the warm cup, but something colder settled in my chest. Thank you, I said softly. They nodded, already turning. Probably used to strangers fishing for free advice, but I wasn't fishing. I was remembering. Back in the car, I opened my banking app. There it was, 2009. Transfer $72,000 to an account in both our names, one he later closed, quietly, and now he had a lake house. And I had cinnamon buns and silence. But for the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I felt something sharper. Not revenge, not spite. Just this. You don't get to erase me. Not legally, not quietly, not anymore. He didn't call ahead, just pulled into the driveway one evening, headlights cutting through the dusk like questions. I was at the sink rinsing a mug, the one I bought last week. Blue. Simple. Mine. I heard the car door, the familiar steps, and then the knock. Not loud, not timid either, measured, like someone trying not to seem unsure. I opened the door. There he was, Ben, my son, hands in the pockets of a jacket I'd bought him years ago. That jacket had survived 4 moves. I hadn't. Hey, he said. I nodded. Hey. He glanced past me as if unsure whether to come in. I didn't move. Not a cold refusal, just a choice. Let the moment hang. Let him decide. I was in the area, he said. Thought I'd stop by. I nodded again. He scratched the back of his neck. Jess said you stopped by the lake house. I did. How was it? Quiet. He exhaled. Not relief, not tension, just something between. Mom. He started, then paused. I let him. He waited for me to fill the silence. I didn't. And slowly, he began to realize I wouldn't. I didn't mean to make you feel excluded. Still, I said nothing. He looked down. I thought, maybe I was protecting you, from the finances, from the stress. Now I spoke. I gave you the stress. I live the stress. You don't get to protect me from what I already paid for. That hit him. You could see it. In the flicker of his eyes, in the way he stepped back slightly like the air had shifted. He opened his mouth again, closed it. Then, I don't know how to fix this. I know. More silence. But I'm listening, he added. I looked at him. Really looked. And for the first time in a long time, I let the silence say what I didn't owe him anymore. You can come in, I said finally, but I'm not offering tea. He smiled faintly. That's fair. We sat at the table. Same spots as years ago. Different people. I didn't fill the space with comfort. He didn't try to rewrite history. We just sat, together, in the truth. And it was enough. The lawyer's office was nothing special. Strip mall, beige walls, fake plants, a bell above the door that jingled too loud. But I liked that. I didn't want marble floors or espresso machines. I wanted someone who knew what it meant to build a life with receipts and instinct. Her name was Dana. 40-something. Sharp-eyed. No nonsense. I handed her the folder. Documents, screenshots, bank transfers. Years of invisible giving, now printed in black and white. She flipped through it quietly, then looked up. This isn't complicated, she said. Messy, yes, but not complicated. I blinked. Really? She nodded. You have standing. He used your funds. The law's clear. But I was his mother. You still are, she said. But the law doesn't measure love. It measures contribution. That line stuck with me. The law doesn't measure love. It measures contribution. Maybe that was the truth I'd needed all along. Not revenge, not a reckoning. Just acknowledgement, in a language the world couldn't ignore. What are my options? I asked. She laid them out. Plain, clean, a formal letter of claim, mediation, partial equity or reimbursement, or do nothing and keep the peace. She didn't tell me what to choose. She just gave me the shape of the field and let me walk it. I took the folder home, sat at the kitchen table, opened the notebook from before, the one where I'd written, "What I still am." On the next page I wrote, "What I deserve." And for once, I didn't flinch. That night I called Ben, not to fight, not to beg, just, I spoke to a lawyer. Silence on the line. Then, I figured, another pause. "I'm not taking your house," I said, "but I won't let mine vanish from memory either." He was quiet. "I understand," he said finally, and I think, for the first time, he actually did. Thanksgiving came again, a year later. No invitations this time, no long drives, no lake, just me. And that was enough. I made the pie from scratch, pecan again, but this time with cinnamon. I laughed as I poured it in, remembering how he used to hate it. Now he didn't seem to notice. Maybe people change. Maybe some things stay the same and we just stop naming them. The apartment was smaller now, but brighter. I'd painted the kitchen yellow. The table only seated 2, but I set it for 1, fully. Cloth napkin, candle, the good plate, a wine glass, not plastic. Not because someone might come, not because someone might see, but because I was here, and that was reason enough. I poured myself a glass of red, took a bite of the pie. Sweet, warm, too much cinnamon. Perfect. Later that evening, I lit the candle again, not for ambiance, not for tradition, just to watch the light dance on the wall. I sat with my notebook, now thick with pages, some angry, some grateful, some that still didn't know how to end. At the bottom of the last page, I wrote, "I am not a ghost. I am not a guest. I am not a phase in someone else's story. I am the table. I am the place things begin." The phone buzzed. A message. "Ben, happy Thanksgiving, Mom. We're thinking of you. Kids made cards." I stared at the screen, felt the flicker of something like peace. I typed, "Thank you, I'm good." Sent it, then turned the phone over, took another bite. Outside, someone lit a sparkler. Children laughed, and I sat at my table, candle flickering, wine half full, whole, not waiting, not grieving, not erased, just here, just me. And for once, that was everything. If you're still with me and this story meant something to you, subscribe. There's more to come.